Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. If you're wondering what I'm doing, well, next to a Lincoln log cabin on a bit of a swing, well, I am visiting my grandparents safely and responsibly for the first time in about a year. And so I came down for my dad's birthday, decided to spend a day coming over here, having dinner with them and seeing them. And I thought I'd come out to the log cabin that my grandfather built to build or film a video. And with that, let's talk about something that I have ran into way too many games this last weekend, up with Alex from Boardgame Co. Way too many games that have been breaking this one core tenet. This thing that I think every Kickstarter, every project, every game that is ever invented from the point this video goes out to indefinitely needs to have. Why am I being shipped giant, massive, big box games, heavy strategic Euro games? Why am I being shipped games that do not have an individual player aid for everyone around the table, an iconography aid? If it's a heavier game, give me a booklet, like a 4-page little print and spread. I don't care what it is. Give me one that I can share around the table, but give me something. It's not enough that it's in the rulebook. It's not enough that you put a backsheet to the rulebook with the iconography and the turn sequence. I like that, and I'll use it, and I appreciate that. But I've ran into a few games recently, very recently, that didn't even have that, and I don't understand. I don't understand why our industry has not yet figured out that, well, the concept of having something in front of you that helps guide your play dramatically improves the experience that you're having with the title. I'm not going to name names or point fingers. I'm not frustrated with any one company or group in particularly, but I just felt like I should have and start a conversation with my community. It should be unacceptable to not have some degree of support structure there, especially for any game that is higher than a 2.7, 2.8 on the rating scale. It's just mental. I do not conceptually understand why you can't just take the same information you listed in that core book and transfer it over. All the games that have fan-created player aids within the first month or two, that have turn sequences and structures and resources that allow you to print out a sheet that gives you something physical you can have in your hand, that you can hold onto, that you can engage with, why don't game companies do this? It's already there. All the information is compiled in the rulebook. It's as simple as another formatting, and if you're going to Kickstarter, factor it into your budget. Like, announce it as a stretch goal. I'll celebrate with you. What? Beautiful inlaid player aids with full brand new piece of artwork for every character, and you're going to give me the icons and the turn structure? Sold. Mine. I don't care. I'll buy a Kickstarter upgrade pack for every game I own if all you're doing is providing me with what I need on hand to start playing a game. In fact, if someone wants to take that idea and run with it, I don't know that you'd be breaking any rules. Maybe some of the iconography would be copyrighted, but release a Kickstarter that just has 50 well-designed player aids and reference guides for all of these games that don't yet have them. I don't get it. When I'm sitting at the table, even after someone's taught me a heavier game, all the time I have questions around what do these cards do? What do those icons mean? What are these keywords or these terms? And I don't want to pause the game and ask everyone. I want to understand the flow and the structure of the game rounds. What's happening on another player's turn? What are my options when it's my turn to go? How do all the enemies activate? What's their sequential order? If you're giving me a campaign game, still provide all of that as concisely and cleanly as possible, but also give me some degree of a quick start guide or the first sequence of turns. This needs to be something that we as an industry begin to think about and focus on way more than I feel like we have. The fact that there are fans and community members of some of these incredible games that are doing the hard work to make these titles more accessible, reach out to them. Print the thing that they made for your game already. Tell them that you appreciate all the hard work, and by golly, start incorporating it into your title. And if you can't, or if you don't know how, or if you haven't paid enough attention, get the community to help you. Ask what resources they need, and certainly by the second printing. What's your sense of things? Why is this overlooked? I don't understand. Do we get so focused on the game design and the art and the aesthetic and the miniatures and the upgrades and all the nonsense that goes into a title that we forget that at the end of the day, the ease and accessibility and use of play is the most important thing? Do we feel like the rulebook with a compendium or an index is enough to guide, or just the back page of the rulebook with the turn sequence and icons is enough? Is it so complicated to do a high-quality, decent print of 4 additional pages that goes into the box? It might be. Maybe that will cost $12 extra. First off, I think it's worth it, but beyond that, maybe it would. Inform me if I'm wrong, but if I'm not, if my theory is a few extra pages, a few extra pieces of paper, just like you do your advertisement sheet that goes into a lot of the boxes, doesn't actually cost that much more, then why in the world are we not doing it for the players? Consolidate that information, transfer it onto a separate piece of paper, and give me enough that everyone that's sitting around the table can at least share, if not have their own. I'm sure, depending on the game, it's more complicated than what I'm presenting, but I don't want to receive another finished Kickstarter game. I don't want to receive another finished game that hasn't paid attention to the fact that a player aid, a turn sequence, a index, and a group of iconography or recognizable, identifiable terms is necessary. I might be being irrational. I don't think I am. Let me know, because maybe I'm being ignorant. But there was one game that I played recently where I genuinely do not think I would have tabled that game, continued to play it, if it wasn't for the fact that someone on BGG had already went through and designed a player aid that I was able to utilize. And now I love that game. I think it's one of the best games I've played this year so far. I'm intrigued, I'm compelled, I'm getting myself a copy. I'm speaking highly of a game that doesn't have this. And the reason I think I'm frustrated is because I never would have played your darn game if someone on BGG hadn't made it slightly more accessible for me, hadn't cared enough about your title to go design something that allows me to engage with it. So here's my call to action. Here's what I'm asking for. If you're a publisher, a designer, a board game industry folk, if you enjoy watching my content, player aids. Player aids, player aids, player aids. Do not ship a game unless I can either own or share a player aid while I'm playing with it at the table. For anything that's more complicated than a base 2.5, right? Anything higher than that, it should be expected, and it should be an industry standard from this point on. As far as the community goes, in the Kickstarter comments, in games that you're excited about, player aid. Player aid, player aid, player aid, player aid, index, player aid, turn order, iconography. Tell them you expect it. Let publishers know, not in a mean way, not in a cruel way. And any publisher that has put out a game up to this point that doesn't have it, like I just said, there's literally one I can think of that I just had this experience with, and I love the game, and I'm excited about working with the publisher one day. So I'm not telling you to go be angry at games that don't have these resources. It's just not an industry standard. That's this conversation. I'd like it to be. I think it should be. I selfishly really want it. So if you're investing in a game on Kickstarter, be excited, be kind, be generous. But let them know, like, we'd really like your game to show up with a really good player aid. That'd be nice. Whatever the case, hopefully you enjoyed this rant. And whatever you do, remember to do the important thing. Be kind to one another. And I'm going to film a few more videos and enjoy being here. I'll see you next time. Thanks.